ServiceNow, if we talk about ServiceNow, ServiceNow is basically a PaaS provider of enterprise service software. Now, what do we mean by enterprise service management software? That will come onto it in a bit of while. This company was founded by a person named as Fred Lurie. He was a part of Peregrine and BMC Softwares. He left Peregrine and he has opened a new company by the name of GlideSoft in 2003. The name ServiceNow, he has chosen the name ServiceNow in February 2006. Now, this platform that we are talking about, it is built on Web 2.0. It is built on Web 2.0. That means it is a web-based interface. Like we have few applications that we have to download on our system and we have to install it to use it. Unlike those things, ServiceNow is just a web-based application. You just need a web browser and an internet connection to use ServiceNow. Now, the other things that are related to ServiceNow are it is SaaS, ITL v3, PaaS, and IT 3.0. Let's take all these one by one. If we talk about SaaS and PaaS, the full form of SaaS is software as a service, and PaaS means platform as a service. To give you an example of SaaS, the most common example could be our Gmail. Like we use Gmail, we don't have to install anything onto our system, but we use it as a service which Google is providing us. We just log into the Gmail application, we just log into the Gmail website, and we can use the mail services that Gmail is providing. So similarly, ServiceNow is a SaaS platform. Like you can understand it in a bit when we go ahead. Like for end users, the end users will be using it as a software, and it is also a PaaS. PaaS means platform as a service. That means ServiceNow is giving a platform to the developers to build on top of it. So it's a SaaS and a PaaS, both platform. It's ITL v3. ITL v3 is nothing but a set of rules that has been defined by the British government, so that all IT companies or IT organizations need to they follow these rules. It's just a guideline, set of guidelines that we have to follow. So ServiceNow is also following this ITL guidelines. Okay. Now we talk about enterprise service management. Basically, earlier these tools were named as ITSM tools. ITSM means IT service management tools, but these tools have grown out of IT. They are providing non-IT, financial, and other services also. So we call it as an enterprise service management software. Now, what do we mean by service management? If we talk about in terms of IT, in IT there can be many services. Like if we give an example of the most common services that we provide in IT, will be a catalog service. A catalog service, you can relate it to any of the online applications that we use in. When we order something, we are ordering a catalog that becomes a catalog in the backend. The other IT services can come into incident, problem, change. We will define a bit about incident, problem, change, and service catalog. Like what does it basically mean? What we are doing in ServiceNow in a bit of while. Okay. So basically, to give you some more idea about ServiceNow, you can call it as a ticketing tool. We'll see about it in a bit of while. Let's see. First of all, ServiceNow has many competitors in the market. To name a few, top ones are BMC with Remedy, which is from BMC Softwares. There's a software called HP Service Manager, which is from HP. There is a tool from CA Technologies, and there is one more tool from IBM called Max. These tools are very old in the market compared to ServiceNow. As you can see, ServiceNow has came into picture only in 2003, and this company became profitable only after 2007. But it has taken all these competitors out of the market, and right now it is capturing around 35% of shares in its area. There is a basic there is something which ServiceNow is doing different from these tools, which is making it on top of the ladder, right? So what is it doing differently? Let's see the basic architecture of ServiceNow. Before that, let me tell you something more about ServiceNow. So what it is doing different from other competitors is all these competitors which are listed in this list are not using cloud. They are application based. Like if you have to use Maximo, you will have to install a Maximo application on your system. Your system has the Maximo application has prerequisite that your system should be Linux or it should be Windows. It should have these configurations and all those. Then only you can install those applications and you can use it. And they are hosted in the infrastructure either of the client. Like means you need a database server, you need the application server, you need a load balancer, you need firewall. All these things you have to configure in your network to be able to use a maximum application. But if you go to ServiceNow, it is using an enterprise cloud. That means the entire application is cloud hosted. As I specified earlier that it is a web-based application, it is because it is hosted on cloud. So you can access it from any browser, anywhere. You just need a web browser and the internet connection. Now, these competitors also have, like if we talk about IBM, IBM has its own cloud and they are trying to host Maximo on its own cloud, but still they are not in line with what ServiceNow is doing, because ServiceNow, first of all, it is using their own cloud. It is not using Amazon Web Services, or it is not using the cloud of IBM, or it is not using VMware's cloud. It is not taking the cloud of other people. It is having its own enterprise cloud. Now, there are many benefits of ServiceNow cloud which it is portraying. First of all, it is telling that it keeps the customer data safe. That means as it has many customers, still it is having a dedicated database server and a dedicated application server for each and every customer. Now, to tell you a little bit about database and application server, this is the basic architecture of ServiceNow. This is where we are, customer side. This is where we are accessing it. Okay. This is a firewall. Like it has a firewall to restrict usage, who can access it and who cannot access it. Apart, if you go to this side of the picture, this is entire architecture which is hosted on the vendor side. To tell the vendor side means it is hosted on ServiceNow side. If I start from here, the database server, the database server, the application server, the web server, the SSL, the load balancer, these firewalls, these all setups are done by ServiceNow itself. The company or the client which is taking its services does not need to worry about any of these. And in hosting all these services, it is providing few features which are which are better than the other cloud providers which are there in the industry. First of all, it keeps the customer data safe. As I told you, it will have a dedicated database server and an application server for each and every customer. It maximizes uptime. Now, to tell you how it maximizes uptime, as I have few notes. Hold on, give me 1 second. What it does is basically ServiceNow, it has its data centers all across the globe. It has its data center in 6 geographical locations. And all its data centers, if in a layman term, if you talk about data center, is where all the data is hosted, or all the servers which are hosted at one place. We can call it as a data center in terms of ServiceNow. So ServiceNow is basically maintaining a pair of data centers. Like if suppose we are a banking customer, so the data which a banking customer will have is very critical. It cannot afford to lose the data, or it cannot afford to lose the connectivity with the database for even 1 second. So what ServiceNow does is, for the production servers, it maintains a couple of data centers. Like it maintains the data center in pairs. One will be primary data center and other will be backup data center. So these are the few things that ServiceNow is doing different from the market in order to keep its cloud, means the availability that ServiceNow says is 99.98% available. So these are the features that ServiceNow are using to provide such an high availability. Now it says it is compliant with all the industry standards, like whatever industry standards has been put for a cloud architecture. ServiceNow is compliant with all those. It says it's create a single source of truth. That means it is a single source of all the data which a client has to take into consideration. Like one place will have all the data, and the client can look back to that place if it requires any of those data. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and like I told you that we'll tell about something about enterprise service management ahead, and what ServiceNow is basically doing till now. we have covered about what ServiceNow is, when it was founded, what is the basic architecture, how it is different from the other competitors. Okay. Now we'll talk about the services offered. As I told you earlier, we used to call it as an ITSM tool, that is IT service management. Now that means IT service, IT services, asset and configuration, planning and policies. But still, the major use of ServiceNow is in IT services. You These are the list of normal IT services which are incident, problem, change, knowledge, service catalog management, service desk. We will touch ServiceNow is doing actually, like what the tool is doing. If we talk about incident management, so incident basically is any issue in face issue with our desktop. Suppose when some software is, we raise an incident which goes to a particular team and it is getting worked onto. Like suppose if we are in a very big organization, you cannot manage requests through emails. Like you cannot expect that there's a IT team which is sitting and the end users are raising are sending emails to the IT team that my software is updated, my Mac ID is this, can you please come and do it? Those things will not work in a very big organization. So incident management comes into picture in that case. Like an end user is raising an incident. Consider ServiceNow. So the end user is raising a ticket in ServiceNow, which is getting assigned to some team, and those teams are working onto it. After their work into the same ticket, means a ticket is created in the database, a record is created, all the updates which are there on for that particular issue will be updated onto that incident, onto that ticket, and it will be communicated to the end user and to the person who is working onto it. So ServiceNow is providing incident management application. Now, if you talk about problem management is one step ahead than incident management. Suppose we have some issue which is occurring again and again. So that can be qualified as a problem. That means it is not an issue, it is a problem, and it needs more attention. So it will go into a problem management structure. In this case, incident will not be created. A problem ticket will be created. These are different types of ticket that are created in ServiceNow. So basically, we call ServiceNow as a ticketing tool as well. So when the issue is occurring again and again, it can be qualified. It can be qualified as a problem, and a problem record will be created for that. Now the team has to look into why this issue is occurring again and again. If we talk about problem management, we normally talk about RCA, that is root cause analysis. These terms are basically specific to ITS, ITIL guidelines. As I told you, it is following ITIL V3 structure. Okay. So the team who is working on, they will identify what is the issue. Once they found out the issue, they will resolve the issue and they will document it. Like they will tell the root cause analysis what was the root cause of this issue. To touch base upon change management, like suppose we need any changes, suppose we have raised an incident and that incident requires to give you an example. Suppose we and it has 10 fields onto change management procedure. Change management is nothing but it says whenever you have to change anything in an organization, you have to go through few basic requirements for it. First of all, changes can cause some issues. That means you a team whether we can make this change or not. There might be changes in a server into a server that might impact a lot of users. Okay, so when we are making a change into a server, there will be a change window defined. So all these things come into change management. Like you'll have to go through a change management procedure to deploy any change into your organization. Similar to change management, not similar, there's a knowledge management. Knowledge management is basically a data whatever issues or whatever we have analyzed, we put it into a database so that it can be referred in future as well. An end user or a layman can means is similar to any of your online applications. Like whatever is offered in online or application, whatever products or let's say both product or services, whatever is offered through a catalog. So suppose if we go on to Myntra.com, whatever we see, each and every item, whether it is a shoe, it is a t-shirt, it's in a form of a catalog. Suppose when you place an order, a catalog item is placed in the backend. Backend. Your request will create a ticket in the backend. From the phase of requestment to delivery will be tracked through this catalog management system into a ticket. Coming down to service desk. Service desk is basically nothing. Suppose if I am in an organization, if I face any issues, I will call up to the service desk. And service desk, depending upon this structure of the organization, will either create an incident for me or it will create a ticket which will finally qualify to be an incident. So this is a brief about IT services that are provided. Now I suppose we can link better what ServiceNow is doing. Like what do you mean by IT service management? If we talk about the other services that this application is ServiceNow is providing us is asset and configuration. Apart from IT services, it is providing us a lot of services which are not provided in other tools. Or if they are in other tools also, ServiceNow is very much ahead than other tools in terms of reliability, in terms of performance in terms of uptime. In an IT asset management tool, the main thing that a client will be looking is for availability. And ServiceNow guarantees 99.98% of availability. Availability is the main thing. Now moving ahead from IT services, if we talk about asset and configuration, asset is nothing but anything which is tangible or intangible in an IT organization. Asset management means managing all the assets that an organization have. Suppose if I have an office which is having 10 employees, so I need employees are my assets. All the 10 employees will have laptops, will have desks, phones, will have other IT assets along with them. So I need to manage all those assets. Or else how will I come to know what do I own, which assets has gone wrong? There might be an expiry time for a phone, or the license of some software might be getting expired. So asset management basically take care of all those things. ServiceNow is even offering us asset management. Apart from asset management, is offering us configuration management, software asset management, procurement, product catalog, contract management. So some all these all take into picture all our software assets, hardware assets. Configuration item means anything that can be configured in a network. As to take in, you can put in an example of a server, a router, a switch, a gearbox, anything that can be configured into the IP range of the organization. If we talk about IP range, each and every organization has an IP range into which all its assets are connected. So basically, what it will do is it is putting up it is taking a database of all the assets which are there in the IP range, and it is maintaining a database of all those assets so that it can be maintained in a proper way. So ServiceNow is basically giving us these features as well, asset and configurations. Moving ahead, it provides us IT operation management features as well. In IT operation management, the main thing or the best selling part is discovery. Discovery, as I told you about asset and configuration management, discovery is something which is going, if you talk about in a very layman term, discovery is a tool which will go and find out all the assets in an IP range. It will go and search all the assets which are there in an IP range, and will create a file of those assets. Like it will tell me, boss, this is all the assets or all the CIs that are there in this IP range in your organization. So this is a separate, this discovery comes in as a separate plugin. What is a plugin? We'll come to it in a later point of stage. But discovery is a separate plugin in ServiceNow. ServiceNow provides us discovery feature as well. Uh, Other feature, if we come down to orchestration. Orchestration means automating something. Many of the manual tasks we do. Like if we talk about, if I give you an example, suppose there is a user in the ServiceNow system, okay, so that in Flipkart, I have logged in, I have created my credentials in Flipkart, so I'm a user in Flipkart. Okay, so when I have raised a ticket or when I have ordered for something, I will be the caller of that order, or I'll be the caller of that. Now, Tom, suppose someone has raised an, now next day that person leaves that organization, no more in that organization. You put in some automation, someone has to manually go and check that these are the tickets that are assigned to this person who has left this organization. That becomes a manual task. Procedures, like if a person has been off-boarded from an organization, it will collect abilities or the tickets that was on to him, and it will reassign accordingly to whatever rules we provide. Coming now, which comes under orchestration only, as an option for installation of VMwares. If you talk about, if I say about VMware means virtual machines. It can be a Amazon Web Services virtual machine, or it can be VMware virtual machine. ServiceNow provides these two options for AWS and VMware cloud provisioning. In ServiceNow, you can build in, like if someone is ordering for a new virtual machine, or if someone has a virtual machine which is going to be expired, or he wants to extend the contract of that virtual machine, or someone wants to terminate that virtual machine, they can raise a ticket directly in ServiceNow using the cloud provisioning feature of ServiceNow, and we don't have to manually go and like if he has raised a ticket for a new virtual machine, or he has raised a ticket for terminating a ServiceNow has workflows on background. We'll come on to all these ServiceNow terminologies that I'm using. ServiceNow has workflows on the backend that will use the cloud provisioning model to automate these tasks. Okay. So coming down to event management. Event management is something like, if I give you an example, like suppose in an IT organization I am using 100 HP printers. Okay, so in at any point of time, any of those printers can have a paper jam, can be out of ink, can be out of paper. There can be many issues. So a person has to manually go and see what is the issue in that printer, and he has to fix it. Event management is something the HP systems, what they will do, HP printers, once there is an issue in that printer, it will start to create an event, or it will start to create an alert, to be more specific. It will start to create an alert. Now what ServiceNow will do is, the HP system can only create an alert. An alert, as in, if you talk about in an HP system, it is just a symbol that something has gone wrong. So what ServiceNow will do is, we can integrate ServiceNow with HP system. To integrate in the sense, if you talk about event time, we can connect ServiceNow to the HP system. So what ServiceNow event management will do, once the HP system is popping up an alert, ServiceNow will go and pick up that alert. And depending upon the rules that we have written in ServiceNow, it will try to categorize that what is the issue. It will try to see what is the issue. The alert will have some information, and using that information, ServiceNow will try to categorize what is the issue. And based on the rules that we have written in ServiceNow, it will create a ticket automatically, and it will assign to that specific group. In this case, it can be a group which is handling printers. So the people who are in that group, they don't have to manually go and check the printer. They will automatically get a ticket assigned to them, and they will get a message that, boss, this is the ticket that has been assigned to you, and such printer is having such and such error. So they can go and they can fix the printer. So that means the manual intervention is all eliminated in this part. Similarly, if you talk about BSM map, BSM map is something again that is linked to CIs, and what are the businesses that are impacted by the CI. It gives us a graphical picture of what a CI, what a configuration item is, and what are the business services that are impacted by it. Okay. Moving on, there are many other facilities that ServiceNow provide. We'll cover a few of these briefly. Like if I talk about service level management means, suppose if I have raised a ticket, suppose if I am an IT organization and my system is not, my software is not working, my some software is not, or suppose my Outlook is not working. So suppose I have raised a ticket that my Outlook is not working. So there might be an SLA. SLA means a time frame during which your request should be fulfilled. That time frame is managed by service level management. Like if I have raised a ticket that my Outlook is not working, the assigned person cannot say that I'll fix it after 5 days because my business is getting impacted because of it. So service level management considers all those things and give you an option to configure, like for what type of SOAR request, how much time is required. You can configure all those things and everything will be tracked by service level management. Service level management will tell the assigned to that this is the time frame during which you have to complete this ticket, or else this will get breached. Like your whatever agreement you have made, that will get breached. Their service level management is basically an agreement between the client and the vendor. Like if someone is raising a ticket, someone who is fulfilling the ticket, they will tell on a prior basis that this is the time frame we need, and depending upon the time frame that has been come upon as an agreement, we can define our service level management. Project management is like maintaining an entire project, what all resources are there, what are the projects, what are the requirements that are going to be in pipeline, how many people are going to work onto it, what is the time frame when it will start, and everything can be managed through the project management application in ServiceNow. Release management is similar. Like suppose if we have like we do an upgrade in our OS, it will not be exactly like an upgrade, but suppose we are changing many things in a system and we want all those changes to be clubbed into one thing. So when we club all those changes into one object, we call it as a release. So release management will facilitate us in moving a bulk of changes together from, or means going live with a bulk of changes. Coming down to SDLC Scrum process, people might have heard about agile methodology that has been used. Nowadays, in IT organization, we are scrapping out the waterfall models because the waterfall model has its own pros and cons. It has more cons, so agile method has come into. So SDLC Scrum process is is a feature in ServiceNow, which ServiceNow is providing us, through which we can make use of the agile feature for our software development. Okay. Apart from all these features, we have finance management, facilities management, IT cost management, IT finance. N number of features are there which ServiceNow is providing. Now, this was a bit about ServiceNow. Now, what is our role and what are we gonna do in ServiceNow, or how are we gonna do all these things? So basically, in ServiceNow, we have three types of users. One is an end user as in who is not worried about what the system configuration is, where the system is. He has to use the system. Means he has to raise a request. Suppose like if we are using a Flipkart, we are using Flipkart. We are not worried how Flipkart is configured or how in the backend who is managing Flipkart. We are an end user for Flipkart. That is an end user who is only using the service. Another is a support user. A support user as in who manages the services. If I relate to an online application, suppose if I've raised for a ticket for a new shoe, so the person who will be looking at that ticket and who will be on processing the ticket for the whether the shoe that I have ordered is available or not, the packaging has been done or not, who is managing all those things is called a support user. He is giving me a support. The third type of user in ServiceNow comes as administrator. Administrator is a person who is basically administrating the entire application. He will basically build the application. Now what ServiceNow does is, we have spoken about all these offerings like incident, problem, change, knowledge. ServiceNow will give us a basic layout of incident management. It will give us a basic layout which will be entirely following the ITIL v3 guidelines. So ServiceNow has given us a basic layout of incident, problem, change, knowledge. Now, depending upon the client's configuration, we have to change that basic model to meet our requirement. The person who is doing that is an administrator in ServiceNow, who is basically managing the entire system in ServiceNow. Okay. Now, if we talk about what are the prerequisites to learn ServiceNow, like I have spoken that it is using so many modules, so many applications, such and such things. So there might be some prerequisites to learn ServiceNow. But to frankly speaking, there are no prerequisites to learn ServiceNow. I will tell you why is it so. If we talk about the interface of ServiceNow, like how it looks, first I'll show you the ServiceNow website, how it looks. a demo website of ServiceNow. This is basically a demo website of ServiceNow. I will talk about what are these features, a few features about it. So in the main profile, let's just see what are the prerequisites first. So the entire UI that you have seen over there, or the entire look and feel, that is built via HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The entire look and the entire user UI user interface. But we don't have to build the user interface because it is already built by ServiceNow. Now what we have to do, there are two types of scriptings in ServiceNow. One is glide servlet scripting and the other is business rules. So the glide servlet scripting and business rules, there are two different types of scripting language that is used over here. The first type of scripting language is Apache Jelly. Apache is a programming language that was built by a company called Apache. I'm really sorry. Jelly is a scripting language that was built by a company called Apache. So Jelly is basically a scripting language that is owned by Apache. Now, what ServiceNow has done is ServiceNow has built some APIs. APIs means application programming interface on top of Jelly to make it simpler. And that is what is called a ServiceNow Jelly. So we have to use ServiceNow Jelly in order to make use in the right servlet. We will come on to how ServiceNow Jelly is used and all those things. The next thing is business rules. In business rules, normally we are using Java-based Java code. ServiceNow is completely built on Java, but we don't have to code on Java because what ServiceNow has done is it has made APIs to make it user friendly, like how we have to use it. Once we look at some of the examples how we are using the code, then I can explain you better what a Mozilla Rhino is. Basically, in business rule, it is using a code called Mozilla Rhino. It is also a application. It is also a programming language from Rhinos. So it is using Mozilla Rhino. And on the database layer, it is using JDBC. But we don't have to know Java for using ServiceNow. We don't have to know SQL, MySQL. We don't have to know the database language. What we just need is few basic programming concepts, like how do we create a function, how do you write if statement, how do you do looping constructs, how do you call a function, how do you return values, only some basics. But if a person is not knowing this basics also, that does not matter. If we go through few demos and if we go through few examples, a person can get to know how it is used in ServiceNow. So frankly speaking, there's no prerequisites for learning ServiceNow. Going ahead, now we will talk a bit about what we will cover in the entire ServiceNow administrator session. This is a basic. This is a snapshot of what we are going to cover in the basic admin training. First of all, we'll tell you what is. Let me go onto the website. First of all, we'll tell you what is introduction means, how a ServiceNow looks like. What are the basic features? Like suppose if I talk about this page, this is the home page. Once again, I'll show you the main home page of ServiceNow. Just give me 1 second. Okay. This is an instance to specify one more feature about ServiceNow. Like suppose I spoke about the competitors of ServiceNow. If you have to use any of those softwares, you need to have an application and you have to install it on your system, but you cannot get it for free. If you're working in an organization, they might give you a demo instance to work on it to have trial, but that is also very rare. You don't get some trial version of the other application on which you can get some hands on. But in ServiceNow, if you want, you can get your own individual instance on which you can work on. You just have to go and log in into developers community and you have to order your instance. You have to place a request for your own instance and the access. You get that instance. So this is my personal instance. It is basically, this instance is basically, or the service now is basically broken into 4 to 5 parts. First is, this is the banner, which we call it. This is the banner of ServiceNow, entire thing which says welcome system administrator, few icons are there, logout is there, gearbox is there. This is the banner of ServiceNow. This part shows me, this part shows me all the applications that are available in ServiceNow or all the features that a ServiceNow is providing. So this is called as an application navigator. This is called as an application navigator. This is called as a banner. This is called as a Power Edge tool. This has few features, like suppose if you want something to be viewed in a form and list, this has few features. You can see the features afterwards. This is called as a Power Edge tool. And this is the main part of a ServiceNow page that is called as a content pane. This is called as a content pane. So this is brief about what ServiceNow is, means what the website is or what the application is basically consists of. It consists of a welcome page, application navigator, Power Edge, and the content pane. Now, apart from that, in this admin course, we will first of all we will study how to configure a user, because we have a system. What does the system require next? It requires people who will be using it. How the people will be using it? You have to create users into that system. So we will be creating, the first thing we will teach you is how to create users into system. Now, if I talk about group, what is a group? A group is nothing but a group of, like, suppose if I spoke about three type of users in ServiceNow. Now there can be different groups which will have different type of access, or which will have different type of means. It will have different access to different. There can be a group which is managing incident management. There can be a group which is managing L1 tickets or first level of resources, second level of resources. There are different groups. So in ServiceNow, what we do is whatever applications or whatever ServiceNow is offering, like I told you, we have applications in ServiceNow. Whatever applications are there, people have access to these applications via using something called as roles in ServiceNow. We have roles associated to each and every application. So whichsoever user is having those roles, they can have access to those applications. In ServiceNow, we access or we manage those roles using groups. After we have taught you about, or after you have learned how to create a user and a group, and you have known about roles in ServiceNow, we'll go on to basic form unification. To show you what is a form in ServiceNow. If I spoke a lot about incident, I'll show you an incident form. This is basically an incident form. So we will teach you what are each and every objects in this form. Basically, this form, everything in ServiceNow is based on tables. Like for everything, it has a table, and each and every form that we submit, that becomes a record in that table. Like if I talk about incident is itself a table, and these fields which you can see in number, caller, location, category, and blah blah, all these fields are columns in that table. Means we have an incident table which is having so many columns, and if we create each and every record in that table, it will become, if we once we submit each and every form in this incident form in the incident application, it will go and create a record in that table. So everything in ServiceNow is record in backend. We talk about incident, problem, change, knowledge, release, SDLC, Scrum, SLA, SLM, SLA, whatever we talk about, those are tables in ServiceNow. And each and everything that is stored in the form of records in ServiceNow. So this is a basic form. We will tell you what is a form, what are the different fields in a form, how to customize a form. Now I'll go ahead and show you what is a list. This will give you a better idea how the data is maintained in ServiceNow. As I told you, this is an incident table. The name of this entire table is incident. It has columns like number, caller, time slot, short description. These are the columns in a table. And as I told you, once we submit each and every request, it becomes a record. So you can see as of now there are 42 records in this table. So this is a table, these are columns, and these are records in the table. Go ahead. We'll be telling about, as I told you, like UI policy, UI action scripting. What do we do? Suppose if I go into a record in ServiceNow, or if I go into an incident in ServiceNow, there might be an organization which will say that all the incidents that are created, that should get assigned to some default user, or some default, it should go to a default assignment group, or it should be assigned to one particular group by default. If you raise an incident, that should go to a particular group, and that group might be able to distinguish or categorize to which group it should go further on. So this is a small customization that we can do. So all the customization that we do in this tool are majorly done by UI policy. There are other things also, client script, business rules. So it will be covered. So what all are the different things that we use, that we need to do customizations in ServiceNow. Coming down, we will teach you how to create tables. Like these tables or these applications which are there, these are out of the box. Out of the box means ServiceNow has created this and it has provided you. But suppose if you want to create a new application, suppose if I want to create if I want to create an application which will store what all tasks I am working on. I want an application to store what all tasks I am working on. I'm using the system. So you can create your own table and your own columns into it, and you can maintain your own database. Like whatever task you are assigned, you are working on, you can maintain it over there. Just to give you a simple example, we'll teach you how to create applications and modules. All these things which you see, this incident is an application, this entire incident, and whatever you see inside incident, that is create new, assign to me, open, assign, all these are modules in an incident. Like you can say different modules club to make an application. Incident is an application, and everything inside incident are modules in incident. Now we'll go on to email notification. Email notification is something to notify someone what is happening in the system. Like suppose if I have created a ticket and I have assigned to a particular user, so that user should know that a ticket has been assigned to me. So he will get an email which will notify him that a ticket has been created, that has been assigned to him. Update set. Update sets are something like ServiceNow. If we take a new instance of ServiceNow for implementation, by default ServiceNow will give you, if I talk about instance, this is one instance, like dev 10405, this is one instance. Similarly, if I take a contract with ServiceNow, by default, it will assign me two instances. One will be my production instance, which will have my production data. One will be my non-production instance. Non-production, the difference between production and non-production instances, non-production instance is used to do all my development and testing activities. And after I have done all my development and testing, I can move it to the production instance. Depending upon your contract with ServiceNow, we can get more than two instances also. We can get three, we can get four instances depending upon contract, but by default, ServiceNow gives us two instances. One is the production and the other is non-production instance. So as I told you, we do all the configurations or all the development and testing in the non-production instance. If we have to move those things to the production instance, we use something called as update set in ServiceNow. If we talk about import set, I told you that we have to take data into ServiceNow. If I talk about user records, so suppose if I have an Excel sheet which is having all the users, so in ServiceNow I can import that entire Excel sheet, or entire database which is there in Excel, into ServiceNow, and I'll bring it into ServiceNow in one shot. I don't need to create manually one by one. I can bring in the entire set of records into ServiceNow using import set. I explained about service level management. SLA is an application which is used to leverage service level management in ServiceNow. Service catalog security is basically, we talked about catalog items, ordering items into Flipkart and how it gets processed. So service catalog is a module which takes care of catalog requests and other things. Now we have reporting also in service. Now let's suppose if we have created hundreds of incidents, an organization might have to measure their efficiency, or to know how much is the inload, how much tickets are resolved, how much tickets are breached. So we have a reporting to give a picture of how the organization is performing. This is a brief about all the modules and application that we have which will be teaching you in ServiceNow. I think that should be enough for a demo instance, for a demo session. Do you have any questions, Srinivas?
Hello. Yeah, Pratham.
Yes, Srinivas.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
fine.
Srinivas.